Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I have a really special guest today. I have Elyce Arons. She is the co-founder of Kate Spade. She is the author of We Might Just Make It After All, My Best Friendship with Kate Spade. And she is also the founder and CEO of Frances Valentine. When I found out that Elyce and Kate were actually both Kansas natives, I couldn't wait to get Elyce on the podcast to talk about her friendship with Kate Spade, what they went through. The book goes into a lot of detail about how they went to school together at KU, how they moved to New York City together. They started the Kate Spade brand and eventually started the Frances Valentine brand. And we had a very inspiring conversation about the meaning of their friendship and what that did for them, about their drive to create the brands that they created, and their love of New York City. And I hope that you guys find a lot of joy in this conversation that I had with Elyce. She's such a bright light and she's such an inspiration. And I think you're really going to enjoy the conversation that we had. Well, I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to have you here. I mentioned that we moved here from Chicago, and when I moved here, I started learning all the things. Yeah, even though I went to KU, I didn't know all the different connections of Kansas City and a lot of national brands and faces and all this stuff. And so at some point when I moved here, I learned about Kate being from Kansas City, you being from Kansas, your whole story. We'll get into that. But when I started the podcast, I was like, clearly, I have to have you guys come on, and then have you come on. And backstory is that I was a Chi Omega at KU, and I saw you at the 100-year anniversary that we had last fall.
Right.
And I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. And in fact, I hadn't even started the podcast then, but I remember everyone talking about you being there. And then I think I read that you hadn't been back for like 40 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
so nice to go home.
Oh, good. Yeah. So did they get in touch with you to come back? I think you did some speaking with some locals there, maybe in Lawrence or something. Is that right?
Well, I'm not sure if you know it, but I was voted Kansan of the Year last year.
Oh my gosh,
And
somehow that
so
did not come up in my research, I don't think. Congratulations. How do you get that?
I don't think there's a lot of press on it. I had a big ceremony in Washington, D.C., because it's all of the Kansas businesses, educational folks, and all of that who came to that in D.C.
Okay.
for the state of Kansas. And then I was invited to KU for the weekend for a
Love
home
it.
game to speak. I had several speaking engagements at KU. And then I made a visit to Halls.
To where?
To Halls.
Oh, Halls. Oh,
department
great.
store.
Oh, man. That would have been fun to see you there.
Yeah.
So you sell there, Frances Valentine, I would imagine?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. I love it. Well, good. Well, as we're speaking, Elyce Arons, you are the co-founder of Frances Valentine and CEO, and of course, the co-founder of Kate Spade. But thank you again for coming on. Do you want to kind of share a little bit more about who you are, what you're doing now, and then we can kind of get into the backstory of you growing up in Kansas, because I want to hear a little bit about where you're
Okay.
from and how that kind of kickstarted your journey in life.
Sure. So we started Kate Spade in 1993,
Mm-hmm.
ended up selling it 13 years later in 2006, and left there in 2007. Katie and I both had just had children and decided to take off and really spend time with our families.
Mm-hmm.
So she got involved with her children's school. I got involved with mine. I became PA president. I became board chair at the school. We built a high school. It was
Wow.
such a rewarding period in which I learned so much, but we both missed fashion. So we started talking about starting something new because we missed creating things.
Yeah.
And that's how Frances Valentine was born. We started it in, I'd say, 2014
Okay.
and launched it in 2016,
Yep.
creating handbags and shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2018 is when we sadly lost Katie.
Yes.
And I wanted to create something that was sort of a tribute to her.
Mm-hmm.
So she and I had been huge vintage shoppers all of our lives.
I love that. Like looking
And
at pictures
pulled
of
out-
you guys is amazing. All of your
Yeah.
apparel and everything. It's fabulous.
I pulled out two of her favorite pieces that she'd worn forever.
Mm-hmm.
One was a caftan, one was an embroidered sweater. And we remade those, and they sold out immediately, of course.
I'm sure they did.
And we reordered them. They sold out again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So people started asking us for all of the things we were using in our ad campaigns, which were all the vintage pieces that we had collected together over all those years.
Yeah.
And we started making swing coats and cigarette pants and all sorts of things that we had in our archives.
Uh-huh.
And cut to today, Frances Valentine, probably 70% of our business is apparel.
Yep.
And we still have a very strong accessories business with shoes, handbags, and jewelry.
Yes.
But apparel's one of the main things that people come to us for.
Yeah, and what's so great about the Frances Valentine brand is the colors, right? I mean, the styles are amazing, the designs are amazing. I love the bold colors, and I have to be honest with you, your handbags are my favorite. I love the raffia bag. There's like this bright green bag that I saw the other day that I was just like, oh my gosh, that's like the perfect time of year to have this. And so it's such a beautiful brand, and the way that you market it is so great. With it's very positive and it's very poppy and it's very uplifting and everything. So. Everybody needs to go check it out, of course. And you're based out of New York City in your studio.
Our mantra is what makes you happy.
Yeah.
So
that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, good. So I wanted to tell you, so of course I read your book that came out last summer, I think, right? 2025, yes. Which everybody needs to go read. So, We Might Just Make It After All, My Best Friendship with Kate Spade. So we'll talk about that. But what I wanted to acknowledge is that book was really an opportunity to, and what we'll talk about here is to celebrate Kate's legacy and to celebrate who she was as a person and to really tell her story and your story of friendship. And I have to tell you, I did the audiobook and I love audiobooks because I can hear the people when they're usually the firsthand storyteller like you were. I felt like I was in the moment in the friendship with you when you were telling the story. Like, you did such a great job sharing, the day that you met through, to today, right, with Frances Valentine. And you kind of brought you into the moment. And I think there was such a great aspect of feeling the love of the friendship that you had, and then the fun that you guys were having, and then getting into business, and then families coming together, and all of this stuff. Like, you just really consumed me into the storytelling. So I wanted to recognize that, because I felt like I walked away feeling like, man, a lot of people could take away from this, how to have such a beautiful friendship with somebody, right? So as I mentioned, I think you wanted to share, for people to hear more about Kate, but what prompted you to finally write the book? What was that process like, writing the book, and how has it been kind of being on your, I guess, book tour that you probably have been doing since then?
Yeah, I have. And it's not ending.
Yeah.
I really hesitated for a long time before I wrote the book. And it wasn't because I didn't know what to say.
Sure.
It was that I just felt so many emotions were going to flood back, and I didn't know if I was prepared for it.
Sure.
Because she was such a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And we shared, nearly 40 years together.
Yeah.
So once I got started, though, it was really more about the fun times we had and all of these great stories and two businesses that we started together. And, it was so rewarding for me when I finished that it helped me. What I realized is it helped me with my grief.
Cathartic.
And I think it's helped a lot of other people with grief who have lost someone close to them.
Yeah.
And it's a really uplifting story, and not just about entrepreneurship or New York City in the 90s, which was so gritty. And
I know, I want to hear about that.
But probably the main thing is the story about best friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a girlfriend who you're close to and you're lucky enough to have a relationship like I did, then cherish it. And if you don't live in the same city, call her and tell her you love her today.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, we couldn't get into all the details here. Everybody needs to read the book for themselves, but just everything from you guys immediately clicking. You lived at GSP, right? At KU. And then you were there for a couple of years, and then you have your story of moving on to Arizona and everything. But, just the thing, like the aspect of her traveling around Europe and then getting to the airport with $5 or whatever it was and calling you, and then it was just everything was meant to be for you guys to stick together from then on out, create the brands that you guys did. All of that. So I think, I really think that the story of friendship is incredible. And in a world where people might feel lonelier than ever, or people are divided more than ever, I think it really is such a great space for people to read that book, do a book club about it, with your girlfriends or fellow moms. And I think there's a lot of takeaways from it. So I love that. Okay, so let's go back. You're from Sedgwick, Kansas. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I've never been to Sedgwick, Kansas. I believe it is somewhere near Wichita, if that is correct.
It is.
Growing up on a farm, was fashion ever on your mind? How was it growing up there? Do you miss it? Do you go back? What was that like for you?
I was the youngest of four daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And so no sons to work on the farm. So we had to, of course, do all the farm work.
Yeah.
But my mother was from the East Coast, is from the East Coast.
Okay.
And met my father on a plane from Kansas City to Wichita. Got married. I don't know if she knew what she was getting into when she got married.
Where from the East Coast was she from, by the way?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, okay.
And she is an illustrator and artist. But my mom created like all the costumes for community theater growing up.
Okay.
And she created illustrations for all of the local retailers in Wichita for the Wichita Eagle Weekend.
Okay.
She was an incredible cook. She did everything, basically. She made all of our clothes from patterns.
Okay.
So she's very talented. She took a subscription to Women's Wear Daily that I would read every single day.
Okay.
And I had three older sisters who took Vogue magazine or 17 magazine. And so I had a lot of influences in my life. One of the things that was really critical was that my sisters and I would go vintage shopping in Wichita.
Okay.
And go to Salvation Army and Goodwill and find these incredible pieces that were hand beaded and that were, from the 20s or 40s.
Right.
Gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably out of necessity that we went there, but I ended up falling in love with all these period pieces.
Yeah. And it probably felt like an adventure, right? It's like searching for the treasures, right? Within the thrift shops. I love that. Well, good. So then I would imagine working on a farm. So first of all, I was going to say working on a farm would teach you a lot about work ethic. And I think another thing that comes through both in your book and then just knowing what you are accomplishing to this day is you're so driven. And I love that as a fellow female, entrepreneur. I'm always looking for the people ahead of me who've done that stuff. And it's always really inspiring. So do you feel like growing up on a farm in Kansas played a part in your work ethic? Or do you just feel like that's just naturally how you were born? It was just ingrained in you.
Well, I think people from the Midwest definitely have that work ethic.
Okay. That's good perspective.
That growing up on a farm just solidifies that even more.
Yeah.
It's funny because when we were growing up on Christmas morning, we would want to run down and open our presents and open our stockings. And my mother was like, go out and do your chores first. The cattle don't know it's your birthday. They don't know it's the weekend. And they don't know it's Christmas.
Yep.
So it's every day of the year. It's getting up early every single day, doing chores in the morning and at the end of the day. And so that instills in you, I think, a responsibility, the things that you have to do every day.
Yeah.
And I am a list maker and a doer, always.
Yeah. Okay, so you referenced the Midwest, which is one of the questions that I had. So living in New York City, whether it was when you first moved there or to this day, do you see a difference in the way there's a Midwest work ethic versus East Coast, West Coast? Is that a thing still to this day that you recognize as you're interviewing people or working with people?
Well, I think that a lot of people have a good work ethic.
Yeah.
Certainly everybody at Frances Valentine does, and they're from all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that comes from being from a big family.
Yeah.
And everybody had to do all of the work for the family. But, it can be instilled just by your parents.
Right.
If you're an only child, even. So I think just depends on the individual.
Yep.
But definitely what I took away from growing up in the Midwest was a Midwestern friendliness and work ethic, for sure.
Yes. Okay, good. Does Kansas make its way to this day into anything that you design? Is there any aspect, any common thread of the vintage shopping that you did when you were younger? Or was that a part of developing Kate Spade?
That's a great question. Probably both brands in a big way. Mm-hmm. And, I think for all of us, where we grew up, how we grew up is always a part of our lives.
Yeah.
It shapes us as people. And so I think so. And I think it's also the period in which I grew up. It was in the 60s and 70s. And the style of those periods of times I'm just drawn to.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's timeless. Cigarette pants are timeless.
Yep.
There's so many beautiful silhouettes that we make at Frances Valentine that are reminiscent of those times, and they'll never go out of style.
Right. I love that. Okay, so let's go back to how did you decide to go to KU, and can you share a little bit more about the first time that you and Kate or Katie met at KU, and kind of how that friendship started, and then you guys both rushed and ended up in a sorority. Can you talk a little bit about that for people who went to KU or maybe were a part of Chi like myself or Kappa?
Absolutely. So for me growing up, there were two schools that I was going to go to.
Okay.
Either KU or K-State.
Got it.
My father went to K-State, so he was a big advocate, and thinking he would take me to a K-State football game, but it was happening at KU. Big mistake on his part.
Set the tone. Yeah.
Because I fell in love with KU, as most people do when they visit that campus. And I didn't even apply to K-State. Nothing against K-State, or some of my best friends went to K-State.
Yep.
Great school. But I fell in love with KU. And I loved every minute of being there. What? The first day, I was moving into GSP dorm. And 2 doors down is this girl who had on big khaki shorts, a polo shirt with a popped collar, and Ouija loafers.
Okay.
I, on the other hand, had just gotten back from a trip to New York with purple parachute pants, a bright colored shirts, and pointy-toed scrunchy boots. We looked at each other and we thought, oh my Lord, we're never going to be friends.
Polar opposite looks right there.
Opposite. We were both rolling our eyes at each other.
Oh my gosh.
But we found that we shared a love for vintage shopping, for the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which we had both grown up watching.
Yep.
And we were both majoring in journalism.
Yeah.
So we started going to class together. Just became best friends relatively quickly.
Yeah. And so you guys only went to KU for 2 years, right?
Yes.
What was that experience? Part of me was like, oh my gosh, they're leaving KU to go to Arizona. But I know that she had, her brother, sister that lived there. And so I was curious, that clearly set this path for you guys, right? Because she ended up meeting Andy and then everything was happening from there. But what was that decision like after falling in love with KU and joining Chi and everything? How did that decision come to be after 2 years to leave and go there?
Well, neither one of us had a desire to leave.
Yeah.
But we went to visit Katie's sister our spring break of our sophomore year. And her sister showed us campus, rolled out the red carpet, showed us singles apartments that looked so appealing to someone our age.
Yeah.
19. And the weather was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was sunny and dry. And all of a sudden I realized Katie wasn't sneezing. She wasn't congested.
Oh,
she had terrible allergies.
Yeah.
And Missy, her sister, when we were out there, said, why don't you guys think about going to ASU? Why not? And we both kind of looked at each other. We're like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is the time to take a risk in my life.
Yeah.
We applied, we got in, and then we headed back to KU for our last couple of months. And we're sort of like, what did we just do?
Yeah.
Now we're committed. Now we have to go. And saying goodbye to all of my sorority sisters who I was so close with was a hard thing.
I bet.
But they did come to visit because it was a nice place to visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I think about that all the time with the weather. I ended up moving to Chicago after I went to KU and had the most amazing time. But sometimes I'm like, how did I choose Chicago with the weather, right? It's so cold. I could have gone somewhere warm. But yeah, everything was meant to be because I had the most amazing time there, started my family there. And but we're here back in KC. Okay, good. So walk me through, you moved to Arizona. When did you start realizing that there might be even more to the friendship and that you guys might be able to work together or to start something together? Did that happen in New York City, or how did you guys eventually decide that you're both kind of entrepreneurial and creative and driven like that?
We both had jobs because we had to pay for school.
Yeah.
My job was a great job, driving a beverage cart all around a golf course.
So fun.
The Biltmore Golf Course in Arizona. Great.
Yep.
I loved it. And it really made a lot of money to pay for school. So it was really wonderful. I was outside all day.
Yeah.
Katie got a job at a men's clothing store called Johns & Company, where she met Andy Spade.
Yep.
And the manager of Johns & Company ended up leaving and starting his own business called Carter's.
Okay.
Katie and Andy left with him and helped him open the store.
Okay.
And he was just getting all the boxes in. And so I was off that day. So I went to help him unpack boxes. And Katie, I guess it kind of planted a seed to think, we could do this too. We could open our own vintage store or designer shop. So that really kind of got it
spurred something
put in our mind that we could do something like that.
Yeah.
And then cut to, moved to New York. 7 years later, Katie and Andy came up with the idea for the handbag company.
Yeah.
And called me and said, okay, we know what the business is going to be.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so one of my questions for you was, now I learned that your mom is from Pennsylvania, so she was from the East Coast. And then I think you might have had a sister that lived in New York City ahead of you.
Yes.
Is that right?
Willow.
Okay, because I was thinking, growing up in Sedgwick, Kansas, right? Days, pre-internet days, pre-cell phone days, all of that stuff. What was the decision like to move to the East Coast and move to New York City for you? Was it scary? Was it a no-brainer for you to go there? What prompted you to move to New York City from Arizona?
My first trip to New York was when I was 14.
Okay.
My mother would bring us each back when we were teenagers.
Okay.
To see shows, to go shopping, and as a cultural trip.
Yep.
I fell in love with New York.
Yeah.
The first time I arrived. And it's hard not to.
It is hard not to. Yeah.
It's the top of the world.
Yep.
It's got everything going. There's so much opportunity. There's finance, there's fashion, there's every business is here.
Yep.
And everybody was so fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Yeah.
So I knew after I graduated from college that I was going to move.
Okay.
My sister, in the meantime, when she was 16 or 17, moved to New York to dance with the Joffrey Ballet School.
Oh, nice. Beautiful.
And so it was an easy transition for me because as soon as I graduated, I moved to New York and stayed with her for 3 months until I found an apartment.
Yep.
So yes, it's scary, but it was so exciting.
Yeah. And there was no looking back. It'd be hard to imagine going to New York City and then going, okay, let's move back to Wichita or something.
It's a great place to grow up.
Sure.
And I loved it. I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
And of course was surrounded by so many good people.
Yep.
But I really loved the excitement of New York City.
And you moved there in what year?
Oh gosh, 86.
86. Okay. So most recently was watching Love Story. I don't know if you've watched it yet, but I was, it's kind of the talk of what was New York City like in the 90s? And that was one of the questions I had for you is what are some of your favorite memories of being at that age, that stage of life, living in the city? I moved from Kansas City to Chicago. I wasn't quite ready to go to New York City or LA, but Chicago I fell in love with. And so I'm curious to hear your take on what it was like living there during the 90s, which seems like such a cool time, always a cool time to be in New York City. But what was that like for you?
It was great. So think back to Sex in the City in the early days.
Yeah.
Sex in the City. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Although we were broke the entire time.
Yeah.
And you don't think about being broke. You think about how much fun you had.
Yeah.
And because we didn't have money to do things, we had to be creative about how we spent our time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to Central Park and just hang out in Strawberry Field the entire day on Saturday. It was
Right.
packed with people. And people often think that New York is a lonely place, but it's the most community you can have around you, where you're face to face with other people all day long.
Makes
And
sense.
they're not people who look like you.
Yeah.
They're people from all different walks of life and all different parts of the world. And that's what makes it so interesting.
Yes, I love that too. Okay, so let's talk about how you guys ended up. I know you guys both had your journey of working at Mademoiselle magazine, right? But I would love to kind of hear the story again for me, but for people who haven't heard it yet, of how you guys started the Kate Spade brand. Like, what are your best memories of how that discussion started, probably with Katie and Andy, and then they brought you in. And I want to hear, what was it like starting that business up, how the name came to be, just what are some of your greatest memories of those early days before it became the powerhouse that it became, of course, and then selling it. But I would love to hear what that was like, and especially thinking in terms of people who might be also interested of getting into fashion or moving to New York City or taking that leap to say, I want to start my own brand. I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, and it was a very different time too,
Sure.
right? So,
pre-digital everything.
right. So I was working a job in North Carolina, and Katie and Andy called me. I just moved there for a job a few months before, and Katie and Andy called me and told me the idea about the handbag company. And I said, I just moved down here. I love my job. So start, and I will come up and help you on my vacation days. I was in New York a lot.
Yeah.
So I knew I could be there a lot. And in the meantime, we had all participated in a summer share and met our fourth partner.
Okay.
Pamela.
Yes.
And so Pamela was physically there before I was. And I would come in and help, steam things and work on things together with Katie, et cetera. But I didn't leave until the following year to move back to New York. And really start full time. And I felt like I was jumping off a cliff.
Really?
Because I loved my job.
Yeah.
But I knew it was at a point where we all needed to be there full time. So Pamela was committed, Katie was committed, and I needed to be committed too.
Right.
So I quit my job, started in full time, and we were working out of Katie and Andy's apartment.
Okay.
I would get there really early in the morning, of course.
Yeah.
Bring them coffee. And Andy still had his advertising job, so he wouldn't join us for about 3 years.
Okay.
Later. But we worked out of their apartment. We had all of our contractors, our manufacturers were in Manhattan.
Okay.
So we would take the subway up to each of their shops every day, sit in their shops and watch them making our first prototypes and then making the manufactured bags and just making sure that everything was on track.
Right.
But back then it was quite different because we got the zippers, the zipper pulls, all the fabric, the lining for the bags, every component we had to purchase separately.
Okay.
Measure out how much was going to each factory to make which bags and deliver exactly that to each of them.
Wow.
So it was a lot of manual labor.
Yes.
At the beginning.
Sounds like it. Yeah. And it was, let's see, it was Katie and Andy, was it Andy's idea to do the handbags? Is that correct?
Yeah,
How
Katie's
did he
like,
have that idea?
About design. And he said, well, you know what you like and you know what's missing in the market.
Yeah.
Because as an accessories editor at Mademoiselle, Katie had realized that there were European bags that were beautiful and had a lot of hardware on them, or there were LL Bean canvas bags, but there weren't a lot of bags in between.
Right.
And so her idea was to create this chic American design with geometric shapes that were clean and beautiful, but not use traditional leather pieces. So we used a satin finished nylon. We used burlap. We used a lot of different non-traditional handbag fabrics.
Right.
And what's funny is what that did was it created seasons for each handbag. Most people would buy one bag and carry it all year long, and then they'd have their evening bag. But we pulled out linen and seersucker for spring and summer.
Yeah.
We pulled out wool and corduroy for fall. And it created a desire for people to change up your handbag every season.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, so I went to KU in 1997. So it was probably like tail end of high school and then getting into KU. But I will never forget when the Kate Spade bags came out. Like that red satin is one that really sticks out to me. And then the other funny thing is I remember how many people wanted and then did purchase the diaper bag. And no, these people were not moms with children. It was like, we just wanted the diaper bag because it was this big, bold, like epic bag that you could throw all into. And I loved the fact that it was like, it didn't even need to be used as a diaper bag. Yeah.
Right. And it had a wipeable lining too.
Yeah.
Big plus.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. So then how was it working with Katie and Andy? What is it like to work with friends that are like family? I'm sure you had your ups and downs with that, but like, what were the biggest takeaways that, you brought out of Katie and Andy or that they brought out of you, and just how all of that looked for you guys working so closely and so intensely together during a time that you were growing so greatly?
I think working with best friends can go either way. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for people if you want
Not
to
for everybody.
But it was, it can be a disaster or a dream. And for me, it was a dream.
Yeah.
We had such a great time together because, you're there together 20 hours a day, like working all the time. And so, we laughed a lot and we had a lot of fun. And yes, we had our fights.
Yep. Of course.
A lot. But it all worked. I think it's because we all respected each other.
Yeah.
And after a certain point, when we first got started, we were fighting so much that we decided, we're like, okay, we've got to delineate responsibilities.
Okay.
So that we're not all second guessing each other on how to accomplish the same goal in a different way.
Yeah.
So Katie, of course, took design. Pamela took product development and production. And I took sales and marketing. Okay. And it ended up working.
Yeah.
And even though we still all worked together on everything, if it was design time, we all sat at the table and talked about it. And if it was shipping time, we all shipped boxes together.
Yeah.
But we were each responsible for our own area, making sure that, we're all on track all the time.
What were some of the biggest learning lessons going through that? Because you had Kate Spade, you guys were a part of Kate Spade for how many years before you sold
13.
it? 13. Okay. So what were some of the biggest takeaways for you learning to start a business or launching that you took into Frances Valentine, or that other people could learn from you?
I think it's different today than it was back then.
Yeah.
I think it was a little easier to get started and you didn't have to have as much capital to start up. Today it's different.
Yeah.
And technology plays a big part in that.
Yep.
But back then, probably it was finances.
Okay.
And I'm glad we didn't know what we didn't know.
Really?
Because we might not have done it. We can't take a salary for a couple of years.
Yep.
And you have to be able to afford to do that. We couldn't get credit lines at banks for a long time. And it's just because our personal signatures really didn't carry much weight at that point.
Got it.
But even getting $100,000 loans is possible. So we really had to watch every penny with everything. Like, we never bought office furniture. We found it on the street.
Okay.
I can't sketch, nor can Katie, but I learned how to sketch so that we could save money on photography for our line sheets.
Okay.
And everything we were scrappy about. Today, it's a little bit different. And when we started, we were like, oh, we don't have to do that part over again.
Right.
But at the same time, you still need a means to finance your business. And so I think that's probably the biggest part, is you need a lot of money to start a business today. Because most sales are happening online. You have to have a website. You have to have someone to man that. And, all the parts of that that make it more expensive.
How many people ended up working for Kate Spade under you guys?
Oh my gosh. We had hundreds
Hundreds.
in
Yeah.
the end left. Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of that were our retail locations too. But we really had a huge creative team.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that was our biggest department because we only manufactured handbags ourselves.
Okay.
But we had licenses. We were designing everything else. So we were designing shoes, tabletop, bedding, beauty, fragrance, stationery, shoes. So we needed a big creative department to work on all of those things.
Right.
And
Right.
it's, all part of it.
Yeah. And in looking back on that brand that you guys built when you had it, what did you love the most about the culture, the brand, what you guys were creating, what you did create? What were you most proud of? What did you feel most accomplished with what you guys created?
Well, we had all worked in the fashion business at one point or another in our careers before we started Kate Spade.
Yeah.
And it's not always so nice.
Yeah.
So one of the things we decided is that we were only going to hire polite, friendly people.
Okay.
And at the bottom of each of our want ads that we would take out, the very last sentence was, must be polite.
Perfect.
And we got those kind of people to work
Yeah.
at our company because our feeling was, you decide what kind of company you're going to have. You decide who's going to work there. You decide what partners you're going to have.
Mhm.
And we decided to partner with only nice people who were above board. And of course, they had to be good at what they did,
Sure.
but it's the same at Frances Valentine because you're working all day with people.
Yeah.
And you should enjoy it.
I know,
And
right?
should
You don't
have
want
fun.
to, and I've worked in corporate America and that feeling, and I'm sure other people have had it way worse, but just the feeling of working for a larger corporation or company where it feels cutthroat and where you feel like the expectations are too high or where you're, fearful to walk into the corner office because you're not sure. I mean, so I love that. That's so important for people to feel that they can perform at their best, I believe. So that's great to hear. I love that. With Kate Spade, what does Kate Spade look like today? And do you have any involvement? Obviously you sold it, but do you work with them in any capacity today?
No, we don't.
Okay.
I did just sign a bunch of books for them because they were gifting them to some people. But no, we really don't.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't been involved since we left for the most part.
Yeah.
I've been to their offices a couple of times for one reason or another.
Sure.
And it's very different from our office because it's in a high rise in Hudson Yards now.
Yep.
But and we had an old space sort of in the Garden District before, where we had 4 floors in a really old building.
Yeah.
It's really cute, but they have moved because they're also part. They're part of Tapestry, with Coach, another brand.
Oh,
they're
great.
all in the same building over in Hudson Yards. So. Very welcoming every time I go over there, which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I heard you say, I know somebody else asked this, and it might have been Katie Couric. It never bothered you that the name was Kate Spade, right? Even though you were a part of the business, is that right?
Right.
Which is great. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about what it was like for Kate to be the face of the name. What was it like for her? What kind of conversations did you guys have? Was she a little more introverted? Was she just incredibly proud but wanted other people to speak to it? What was she like being the name, but also seemingly having this kind of persona of like, I don't always want to necessarily be up on stage and be at the front of everything?
Right. Well, Kate was an incredibly shy person.
Yeah.
And also the funniest person you've ever met.
Love
really
that.
funny.
Which,
Also
by the
very
way, part of your book that I loved is the pranks that you guys would play on each other. So that's definitely a very fun part. I love that you guys did that. It seems like your culture today is that your staff is pulling some pranks on you as well. So it looks
They
like
do.
that's kind of carried through. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So what else should we know about Kate being in that role and what she was able to bring to fashion and bring to the world with what you guys did and how she operated?
I'll answer your question about the name and her comfort level with it.
Yes.
So when we were starting the business, it was Andy Spade's idea. They weren't married. To use her first name and his last name to create the label because he liked how it sounded. Yeah. And I did too. Just the second he said it, you're like, yeah, great. Yes, that's right. And Katie looked over and she goes, don't expect me to be Kate Spade because, you know, if you have a band, a rock band, for instance, everybody is required to create the great music. But the press and fans always want to hear from the lead singer. And Katie became the lead singer, particularly after she won the CFDA award.
Right.
She became Kate Spade, and you know, reluctantly. And she was incredibly shy and did not enjoy getting up in front of large groups of people and speaking.
As most people don't.
I'm sorry?
As most people don't. Yeah.
Most people don't. Yeah. But she had to get better at it and become more comfortable with it over time. But she did.
What was her sense of humor like? You talk a lot about how she was really funny despite being introverted. Like what was she like, and what are some of these pranks that you guys would pull on each other that would just have you rolling, laughing?
Oh, there are so many good ones. There are several in the book.
Yeah.
One of the ones that was so funny was we were invited to go to Japan, and this is a simple one. All of the practical jokes take a long time to set up, but this is a simple one, so I'll tell it.
Okay.
So Katie is Irish Catholic, and very proud of that her whole life. So we were invited to go to Japan, but she couldn't go because she had committed to these personal appearances at Neiman Marcus. So Andy Spade and I went, and we were so excited on the plane. We're eating the Japanese food, and we're like, couldn't even sleep on the flight over because we were so excited.
I bet.
So we arrive, and we're going through customs, and they ask for my passport. I'm digging in my bag, and I feel this really weird object. And I pull out this object right in front of the customs official, and it's an Idaho potato. And it's my little friend.
Very unexpected.
Reminding me that she wants to be there.
Oh my gosh. How random. Did she just find this around the office somewhere and was just like, plop? We'll see what she thinks of that.
She planned it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's really funny.
That's a really simple one, but our other ones were a lot more elaborate. But you have to read the book.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So I want to hear about Frances Valentine, how you guys decided to create it. I want to hear what it's like today. What should we know about this beautiful apparel and accessories brand that you're a part of today? Leading.
Well, you know, when we started, it was about accessories.
Yeah.
It was because Katie loved to design handbags and shoes. And she really didn't have much desire to create ready-to-wear.
Okay.
And so it wasn't until after we lost her that we actually created that. And it was an accident because I just wanted to make a tribute to her, creating two of her favorite pieces of apparel. And it had customers asking us for more. And I think the aesthetic of the very joyful dressing and the nostalgic silhouettes and the timelessness of all these pieces and the joy that women get out of putting one of these pieces on and the compliments that they get when they're wearing them has really sparked our growth and what has happened. And it's, for me, this lovely thing that has come out of a tragedy. And it's almost like in writing the book, I got through my own grief, and it really helped me to get through such a difficult period. And doing this felt like it was doing it with her in a way, or for her. And so it's made it all the more special for me.
Does she?
And I think, yes, sorry.
I was just going to say, how does she play a part in your decision making today? Do you feel like she kind of like pops up in, decision making? Is she like, how does that look like? Because I could imagine her playing pranks to this day, somehow, some way. And
she pops into my head all the time.
I bet.
And I swear it must be 5 times a day I want to call her.
Yeah.
Because we used to be on the phone with each other all the time.
Yes.
You know, when something funny happens, there's that one person in your life who will really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It would be her.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you working, is Andy Spade a part of Frances Valentine, or what is your relationship today since you guys worked together on Kate Spade previously?
He moved to California right after we lost Katie.
Okay.
And has been out there ever since.
Okay.
And So he's still my business partner, but he's not involved in the business.
Okay, got it. Good to know.
In a real way.
Yeah. And obviously, like, a big part of this is to talk about the book and the friendship that you guys had and these wildly successful brands that you guys have built. But a lot of us have been through losing somebody through suicide. And obviously, we're not going to talk in depth about that. But I did want to know if you'd be comfortable talking about how did you get through? I'm sure to this day you're still, grieving at times. But what did you find to be therapeutic or helpful if someone's going through that today? And like I said, many of us have been through that. What have you found to be helpful in your grieving process, but to also carry on that amazing positive spirit and legacy of this person that you loved so dearly?
I think a big part of it is time, obviously. But I think it's sharing with other people and talking with other people. Mm-hmm. I know the book has helped a lot of people get through grief. And I was surprised when the book first came out, all of the reviews on Amazon were about grief. It was number one in books on grief. And I was like, what? I didn't write it for that. Uh-huh. But I think it really helped people, if you've lost someone so tragically, to think back on how they lived and not how they left us.
Yeah.
And really concentrate your thoughts and emotions on all of those good times and the positive experiences you had together. And for me, it was the joy she created, not just as my best friend, but as a creative spirit in the world and how many lives she touched.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know before you did lose her, you had your first daughter who you named after Kate. Is that right?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Which is amazing.
My oldest daughter, Katie,
what does that mean to her? How does she carry that today in any way? Or does that play a part in who her identity is today?
Well, I think she was honored to have Katie as her godmother.
Yeah.
and adored her, of course, and very painful to lose her as an adult in her life. And someone so important to her.
Yeah. And you guys spent so many years together in New York City. What are some of your favorite memories of some of those summers that you spent together or just times being in the city? What are some of the best moments
one
that
of
you
them
had?
was because we tried to always rent a super share house for a period of time in the Hamptons. And we did it when we were broke. Like, we would not eat so that we could go out to the beach.
Tell us how you do that. Need to take a chapter out of that book.
It's priorities,
Yeah.
But I think those were great memories out there because we talked about our dreams and growing our business and our lives and having children and just what was going to happen. And at a young age, there seemed like everything was before us. So really great times.
Yeah.
One of the best memories was when we were out in Sharon, Amagansett, and when Katie and Andy got engaged that summer.
Aw, yeah.
It was just a happy summer.
Yep.
Because then I knew my two best friends were going to be together forever.
Right. And you married an Andy as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
What
I made it really difficult for myself. I had Katie and Andy, and my husband's name is Andy. And of course, I named my eldest daughter Katie.
I love it. Well, so obviously you're in your Frances Valentine studio right now, or headquarters, whatever that would be for you. What do you love most about being in New York City today in 2026, being in the world of fashion, being in New York City? What area are you in, and where do you love to explore within New York City? And I'm also asking selfishly because my family went to New York City a couple of years ago, and this is crazy. I think it was 2.5 years ago, and it was like the worst rain that New York City had since like the 40s. So it's kind of this ongoing joke now about how we were like, trying to get through the subway or whatever with all the rain and everything. And so our youngest daughter, we just went to Nashville last weekend and she absolutely loved it. And she's like, I want to go back to New York City. And I was like, okay, kind of came out of nowhere. And she's 9. But it really left a lasting impression for her. She loved New York City. She wants to go back. So I'm going to have to make that a point to get back there. But what do you love the most about New York City today? You've been there for decades now. You were there in the 90s. We talked about that. What is it like?
Well, as I said, it's the top of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I love the people here more than anything else because you have such a mix of cultures from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it just makes it more interesting. There, the art scene here, the theater, you just have access to live music any night of the week. You
Which
can
is
go
so great.
jazz, rock and roll. You can find anything you want
Yep.
at any time.
Yeah.
And it's that being able to that makes you feel so happy that you live here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. And then in the state, so the Met Gala happened last night. I don't know if that's something that you like to look at all, but of course it's so fun to see what people create there. What's kind of on the horizon for Frances Valentine that you and your team want to do? Anything else that's sort of on your bucket list right now of what you guys want to create or take the brand to?
Well, I'm super excited because, as you know, the title of the book, We Might Just Make It After All, was based on the theme song to the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah, that's right.
Make it.
Yeah,
that one. And about a year ago, the Mary Tyler Moore Foundation asked for a meeting. And I thought, they want to make a donation, or they want me to make a donation for something. And great, anything for them, of course. So Mary died over 8 years ago.
Okay.
And her husband, who was 20 years her junior, Dr. Robert Levine, is still running her foundation, which is a vision initiative for diabetes research. And they raised a lot of money over the years, but Mary died from complications of diabetes.
Okay.
And so he's still running the foundation. He invited us to his farm in Connecticut to see Mary's clothing collection.
Oh my gosh.
Because he was selling the farm.
Wow.
So we drove out. I got to try on all of Mary's clothes in her closet. Dream come true.
Yeah.
Literally my icon. And he asked if we would take the clothing and find a home for it at a museum. And I said, of course we will. Anything we can do to help. So I'm packing up all the clothes a couple weeks later, and he walked up to me and handed me an envelope. And he said, I can't give this to you for good, but I'm giving it to you for safekeeping. It was the hat that she threw up in the air on the TV show.
That's iconic.
And so we are, in conjunction with her foundation, creating a whole Mary Tyler Moore collection that will be launched in September.
That has to be so surreal for you, right?
It's amazing. The peacoats, the hat, her turtlenecks, her plaid outfits that she wore all the time. I can show you. This is the envelope.
Oh my gosh.
This is the hat.
Wow. I know. I mean, that's feel like the untouchable should be on display, right?
It's a museum piece.
Yes.
For sure. So that's really exciting. And I just can't wait for that launch because it's full circle for me.
Yeah.
Growing up watching that TV show and how much it impacted my life and who I wanted to become. Meeting her when we were at Kate Spade because she loved our bags.
Yeah.
And now to have this happen where they just reached out to us out of the blue without even knowing about the book.
Right.
That was incredible.
Why was she such an inspiration for you?
Because I grew up in the early 70s with her TV show. And at that time, women could not get a credit card without a signature from their husbands or their fathers.
That is so wild because that was not that long ago. I've heard about this and I'm like, what? What is it, 1973 or something like that?
I couldn't open a bank account without my dad.
Right.
Not my mom, my dad. So Mary was the first independent single woman who, and she, as an actress, made this decision to take her TV show to the networks and say, I don't want a boyfriend. I don't want a fiance. I don't want to be married. I want to be a single woman who moves to the big city and gets this job. And she told a whole generation of women that we could do that.
Yeah.
That we could become that. And she is the reason I majored in journalism.
Yeah.
She's the reason Katie majored in journalism. She's the reason that Katie Couric, Oprah, Deborah Roberts, like all of these women who I've spoken to over time, she is the reason that they have gone into the career that they did because Mary told us we could become that person.
Yep.
So she played a huge pivotal role in my life.
I was going to say, and now you are literally leading that charge as well for somebody like myself and other people who are looking to get into fashion or move to the big city or start a business or something like that. I mean, you're now a living, walking example of that. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I mean, you've had so much success, and like I said, reading the book is so important because the details that you get into, we're just scratching the surface with it. And you just seem like you've had such a beautiful life, well lived. Like, you seem so positive and so bright, and have really been very grateful for what you've been given. You know, everything from, obviously, we're talking a lot about friendship and your family and your love for your New York City and everything. And so I think that, like, that's such a good takeaway for people to get from you as well. What are any other takeaways that people can have from your story, from your best friendship with Kate, from your upbringing in Kansas? Other people, you know, I have a big Kansas City following, of course.
Right.
We can go find Frances Valentine at Halls, you mentioned.
Yes.
What else should people know that we can share with them in this discussion about your story and your brands?
Oh, gosh. You know, probably reading the book is the best first step.
Yes.
But I think for me, it was taking risks early.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was a good thing I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yes.
Because overthinking it would have prevented me from actually taking those risks.
So maybe don't always want to get the answers to everything. Just keep forging ahead. Little ignorance is bliss.
I think when you're young, it's a great time to take risks.
Yeah.
Because you don't have much to lose when you're young.
Yep. Absolutely. And then I also I thought of this. Any other interesting reactions or responses after people have read the book? So you just mentioned that you didn't realize it would be on the grief list. What other kind of responses have you had from the book that have been enlightening for you or moving for you?
Oh, just stories of best friendship from women. I have gotten so many letters and so many direct messages from people talking about how they're reaffirming their friendships with people because after reading the book, they realized how important those relationships were.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, that's a perfect place to end. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. You are a very busy woman. You've got a lot going on. So I am super honored and grateful that you took the time to meet with me. I'm just bummed that you weren't here in Kansas City for me to meet you in person. But if you do come back, you'll have to let me know.
I'll be back.
Yeah, you have to let me know so we can meet up. And but I also want people to know where to find you, your book, Frances Valentine. So if you could share a little bit about that. And of course, I'll include that when I release the podcast episode as well.
Okay, great. Well, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, any Frances Valentine store has the book, and you can buy it on our website at francesvalentine.com.
Okay, perfect. Which actually prompts the question, how many Frances Valentine stores do you have? Are they coast to coast or are they on the East Coast?
We have 9.
9? Okay.
We have 9. We aren't in the Midwest and on the West Coast yet, but we're moving in that direction.
Okay, well, we will keep our eyes and ears peeled for that. So perfect.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, Elyce. It was so nice to meet you and chat with you. And I'm excited for everybody to read your book and have the takeaways that we talked about. And just thank you again so much for your time. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in and finding inspiration in these incredible stories. If you love what you hear, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave a rating, and share the show to help these Kansas City voices reach even more listeners.